So recording. Okay, now. So welcome guys to the first Zoom of Model 5 about methods and procedures of scientific research. Today we have with us Professor Carolina Escudero. She is an associate professor here at the Faculty of Communication Science at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She also holds a PhD in social psychology from GFK University in Argentina. And also she has a master's degree in sexual difference from the University of Barcelona and a degree in journalism from the University Robert Schuman in France. Mainly her research area is media psychology. She focuses primarily on emotions, trauma, emotional management and repair, also the digital divide and inequality, as well as social movements. So thank you, Carolina, for your time today, and please be welcome.
Thank you very much, Albert. And hello, Jamal and Malak. Nice to meet you. It's an honor to be here and to share with you some steps that we should make when we are working on the research. So in order to give sense to methodology, I know that for some students, methodology is not the most interesting part in their studies. But I think it depends in what way is presented. If we give a sense, if we give a feeling to a situation, we can connect much better. So what I would like to do is, if you both, if you can share with me what is your research topic, what you are considering as a topic, in order that during this conversation, I can give you some ideas, or oh, maybe you can take in consideration that, etc. So if you can present briefly your topic, it will be great.
Sure. Yeah, first of all, I am in love with media psychology. I wanted to do something related to, but unfortunately, I chose something related to politics, and it's related somehow. So my topic is about it's about how the media create the political imagery of like the leaders. So I chose a recent topic about Ajulani, if you are aware of what's happening in Syria. So now he's Ahmad al-Shara, the new president of Syria. So from a terrorist to the president of Syria, that everyone is visiting him, and he's visiting the countries. So I want to shed the light how the media, especially like the Arab outlet media, like Al Jazeera, how they used to talk against him before, and now how they are just glorifying him and his image, and like he's the leader, just for their own plans, their own political plans in the country, in the Middle East, of the Muslim Brothers plan. So that's mainly my topic for now. I still didn't do the whole research, but that's what I chose. I wanted to do about Trump, also about the image and how he used the media. And then this happened in Syria. So I changed to this. I thought it's more recent now.
Okay, very interesting and very needed. Okay, many thanks, Malak. And then I will ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
But thanks for sharing.
Thank
Jamal, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. For me, I'm researching, my research topic has to do with music in dance hall and the discrimination against the LGBTQIA plus community through those narratives. In dance hall, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, there were a lot of songs that literally called for the killing of people who are gay, called for burning them, called for stepping on them, like all this really strong language. and it resembled the sense of like hyper masculinity. So I've been trying to go through those ideas and trying to make it more current to today. Like for example, even talking with my advisor, we were talking about TikTok and talking about how those same songs are still available and are still used. So one of the popularity of these dance songs are not necessarily from the lyric standpoint, but from the music and the beat of it. So people are drawn into the beat and not really understanding what the lyrics are saying. So you have people from all over the world um, dancing to these songs saying step on chichima, which means step on a gay man, or fire will make them burn, or all these lyrics, but no one really listens to the lyrics. They just enjoy the rhythm of it. So that's one component of trying to bring it to today where we have people on TikTok dancing to these songs literally. The other component is that these are still widely available. If you go on YouTube, you can still see every single song from the 1990s till now. Whereas if you go on like Spotify, you don't find these songs. One of the things I've done is I conducted a survey amongst myself. I surveyed maybe 40 to 45 individuals, just asking a series of questions regarding like their gender, their race, where they identify globally, if they like dancehall music, what are some of the themes of dancehall music, if they see dancehall music as problematic to in the lyrics. If I have it all here, but I'm not going to try to look. Also, if they see that I asked, what is the most important aspect to dance hall music? And many of the people said the rhythm, not the lyrics. So that's kind of where I am right now, diving in.
Okay. Okay. Very
And I'm
interesting
sorry,
topics. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the second part of my paper was gonna be a performing arts piece, which was gonna be a solo I was going to do. But right now I'm not sure if I can do the solo component. Because this is very personal to me because obviously I grew up in the Caribbean and also in New York City where there was a lot of Caribbean Americans and people from Caribbean descent. So my idea of this more theatrical work was going to be centered around a barbershop, which was the place of extreme hyper masculinity. And this idea of, I have this image of in my mind of the barber who's this hyper straight man, cutting my hair. And then at the end, he takes a straight razor and he's shaping my head as, that was a thing I always liked to do, very popular as he's discussing and talking about burning gay men and like, validating these musical lyrics as they're playing in the background. So there's this duality of, not necessarily duality, but there's this sense of fear while at the same time accepting, yeah, this duality, like you're accepting it because you don't want to be called out or want to be harmed, but at the same time you are not okay with it. So there's this really strong duality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I also see their naturalization of is they naturalize that. So I share and this normal, and it's also connected probably to heteronormativity, like the world is heterosexual, so hetero is a norm. But the idea of naturalizing and validating these uh, ideals of society is something that it can be also considered for this
Yeah.
step-by-step research. Okay, so what I am going to do is I know you had some readings to do. So from those readings, I was taking in consideration what I consider the most interesting aspects to develop to reorganize. When we start with a topic, we like the topic, we are motivated, but sometimes we are looking for more and more information, and we are adding and adding more facts, and then we are lost. So, and then we want to avoid the topic because we have so many things and we want to go in many different directions. So in order to keep focused on your main point, I decided to make this PowerPoint, and I hope it will be helpful. Let's see. Okay, share. Okay. Can you see it? Yes? Okay. So based on that book that you all have, what we can do with research, we have to research is what type of position we are taking here. For instance, we want to describe a situation, a case. We want to explain what is going on with the new Syrian president and how media portrayed him. We want to evaluate. We want to compare in two countries how a new someone that it was considered the enemy or a terrorist, it become a new leader. We are comparing that. It's a correlation. We are trying to categorize, predict, or control. We have to recognize what we can do through this work that we are doing with our research in order to start organizing what we want to do. The main structure of our research is based on a problem. We have to recognize the problem. The problem should be easy to tell. What is the problem? It should be a phrase as an answer. If I am asking you, Malak, what is your research problem?
It's about mainly it's about how media how media outlets they use like their agendas to for their own plan, the country plan, or I think for their own, like the government or the country, or for their political agendas. Yeah, and I will make like Al-Julani is an example of this. So my problem first is the media outlets.
Okay.
How they use this.
Okay, so their agenda, it can be vague. Try to consider their political agenda,
Yeah.
okay, their cultural agenda, or maybe you're in your case that you like media psychology. This topic is having a pillar on media psychology, because what I'm seeing here is the power of influence.
Yeah.
Media, they're using how they can influence their audiences, convince them, because they trust them in some places, they take in consideration what they're saying. So maybe can be based on media influence. And if you're talking about this keyword, media influence, you will have a lot of works based on media influence on politics with political leaders. Okay.
Yeah.
So it can be like how we can recognize the problem, like one phrase: media influence in politics in Syria, but it should be try to focus on one phrase. And also you are talking about media.
Yeah.
So before you were considering Al Jazeera as an example, right?
Yeah.
So that can be great, that if you can have maybe two different media.
I thought of this. I was searching, but the problem now, listen, what I thought of is I want to compare Al Jazeera before and after, how they changed. Why? Because I wanted to take two media outlets like Al Jazeera and Sky News, or different outlets. But the problem is today, everyone, even the, let's say, the Wahhabis, like the Saudi Arabia, who are against the Qataris agenda, they are also like, they are now okay with this, what's going on in Syria. So they are not attacking, they are not against, their outlets or channels are not against until now. Of course, later on we're going to see a change, a big change in the political image. But today they are their agenda is different today. So I didn't find this big يعني they are not against him for now. So I didn't find a real thing to talk about. So I chose to talk about how they used to attack him before and like he's a terrorist, and now how they are polishing his image.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's based on a change. So when a media is changing, it creates a change of perceptions. The media perception was negative, and now the media perception is positive. So media perceptions could be one of your points. The media perception about this candidate or this political leader was used to be very negative. So yes.
Yeah. Media perception, yeah.
Yeah, media perception, you have many different studies as well in presenting media perception as the problem is a great step. Then you can add more details based on what you are finding, what they were doing before, like using fake news, etc. No, media perceptions and impact is the perception and the impact on the audience. So perception and impact, they can be a very good combination, because if the media is having a new perception about this candidate, it will impact differently the audience. Perception and impact, they can go together. We change the perception, so we are looking for a new impact as well. So please consider that when you are considering the problem, how you are placing the possible problem here. It's just an idea, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Jamal, what is your research problem?
I would say my research problem is dancehall music dancehall music from the 1990s and 2000s are still prevalent in media spaces, and they have a direct impact on our society in terms of being inclusive.
They're prevalent. That is what you're proving, right?
That it's still here today. There has been attempts by many groups to try to censor in some ways. So there's been this big debate about freedom of speech versus um, free liberties of everyone else. Like, these artists have the right to say what they want to say, but at what point is it impacting individual lives? And through my research, one of the things you talked about earlier, going down like this deep well in some ways of researching. So I opened this Pandora's box of religion, and I found myself just like in this deep sphere of looking at, literally reading the Old Testament, New Testament, looking at other religions and spiritual groups that were around pre-colonial, around enslavement, all these ideas of like, religion, especially Christianity, coming to the Caribbean from the UK, and a lot of the doctrines and rules, like the sodomy laws, still exist in these Caribbean islands. So that mixed with the Yoruba or the Ashanti or all these other Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean religions, and how they influenced the artist and the individual to, dare I say, indoctrinate them to have these beliefs, that mixed with this sense of hypermasculinity. So I've been going down quite a well and like trying to resurface myself.
Yes, we need to give a sense, of course, and religion can play a very important role here as well. Yes, yes, and it can be oppressive. Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you're familiar with the studies of new masculinities, the new masculinities studies.
No.
Oh, briefly, in the 60s, the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s, when the feminist movements were growing and they were very active in US and in Europe, a group of men from the London University, they were like, okay, we are dating with women that they're very committed with their rights. They want to take their pill. They don't want to repeat their mother's stories. They reject these aggressive, violent masculinities, etc. And what about us? So the men that they were male students at London University, they decided to create a group, like a study group about masculinities. And they created a publication about what are our roles, who created our roles, why we are not dancing in that way, why we are not discussing about our feelings, why we don't cry in public. You know, what about our sexuality, why we don't talk about things like that, all the stereotypes. And so when they were discussing about that, gay communities arrived to them and said, we want to join you. And those guys, they were like, no, but that is not based on gays or homosexuality. That was the answer. And the other guy said, we are all men here and we feel differently, but we have many things to share. So they decided to be together, and they created a publication which names is Achilles Heel. Amazing. It's online. And
Oh, the irony of an Achilles heel.
and that is how they started to create and to produce, you know, a critical review and point of view about what is being a man. A man can dance, a man can have the right to express in that way and go farther. So things like the structure, breaking this idea of gender rights and exposition. Okay. So I think that can be interesting, could be interesting to have that, like the new masculinities studies and those expressions that they were sharing. So I will move to, so from that book that I was sharing first, I think that is important to take in consideration what type of answer I can have based on my research project. What I am going to do, what is the topic that I am, you know, working on? How much material do I have? It is possible to interview people. People are available. Do I have some polls? How I can do it? And sometimes it's the desire, like, okay, I will make a survey, 100 people, but maybe surveys sometimes they don't work really well and people, they don't answer because they don't have time, they forget. So we need to know what we would like to do and what we can do, what is possible and what is our ideal. Okay, we need to find a way to recognize the limitations, okay, when we are working. So when we answer these type of questions, we confirm in a certain way which is the best direction to advance by being realistic. Primary data is very important. When we are talking about data here, it's like we can have many different methods for doing that. Qualitative methods, quantitative, we have mixed methods as well. But it is important to know how we want to start with that. If this is a topic that I really like, but I am not aware a lot, I am just reading about it, but I didn't hear people expressing something about that, it would be helpful to ask to the people that I know, that they're around me, to check the reaction. Oh, that is not an interesting topic. Oh, that is old. Oh, I don't care about it. So asking to people about our topic, what do they think? And it's a good way to take distance, to hear other reactions, but also we can hear amazing ideas, okay, about, you know, a new perspective for our study. Like, you should interview this politician, you should interview this journalist that So we need to talk with people, check other things outside our readings, normal people, in order to check reactions about the topic that we are planning to work on, okay? So observing situations is also very helpful when we are trying to give a new sense or to create our methodology methods, okay? We are not sure if it will be qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method. So observing situations can give us like an input, like, okay, it will be qualitative. I want to hear people, stories, real stories. I want to hear how people in front of a news based on this president, they react. Like or dislike. I want to hear their basic emotions about it. Or I want to see how someone is reacting to this song in front of me. I will put the song. So is the rhythm dominating the situation, or the lyrics is, so experiencing things. Maybe I need a focus group, because in a focus group I can put the song and I will have different reactions, and that can be very helpful. So a focus group is also a way to check how people perceive this situation, this topic that I want to study, okay? Any questions so far?
No, it's just my only question. I love the idea of a focus group because I already conducted a survey for the past month, so I kind of finished the survey part. But what I did in my survey was I made it completely anonymous, so I don't know what anyone wrote. Only if one of the last questions I asked is, would you be willing to talk further about it? And they then wrote their email. So out of 40 people, 50% said that they would want to talk about it more, which then I was like, I don't know what I'll just talk about what they wrote. But I love this idea of a focus group. So I can create this focus group based on the survey that I already conducted.
Yes, absolutely. And also for a focus group, is very important to create a structure when we invite people. It's important to tell them what is about this meeting, because they will expose themselves to other people. So we need to take care of the situation, and we need to create a safe space. A safe space on a focus group, it will have a very direct impact on our results, which means I have to tell them that this is confidential, that this is for a research purpose, that their name will be anonymized, okay? They're not going to recognize your name, your age, your nationality. So when people, they read that, they accept a focus group because they feel that they are going to be safe. And you can tell them in advance, even if the meeting will be recorded, will be for research purposes, okay? So in that way, their cameras, they will be on, and they know that you are going to respect them. It's a scientific research. It's important to create this trust situation and care, because people will share more, okay? So then you have to read this material from Dr. Sally Tai. And it is also important here, is like also connected with the other book, the idea of the type of questions we have to ask to ourselves, to organize the material. When I'm talking about organizing our material, okay, I will analyze Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera in 2024 until 2025, March 2025. Okay, so and I will take a period of Al Jazeera. It will be 3 months from 2024 and 3 months from 2025. It will be imbalanced, the periods that I am analyzing, and I will give a sense. I always have to give a sense to my selection, okay? So that's why when in the research methods, books, and recommendations is like, first of all, before advancing with the data collection, ask yourself the good questions, okay? Don't waste your time. So is the topic too broad? That is something that we need to ask to ourselves. Do I have to focus more? We can present that in how I will benefit the society, the community, professionals with this research. Can the problem be realistically investigated? That is what I was saying before, bringing reality to our topic, okay, to do not idealize the topic. The data that I have or that I am founding is susceptible for analyze? Is possible to analyze that? This problem that I am presenting for this research is significant. So a focus group can help me in that period of a research, and also talking with colleagues, with people, with the ones I share interest about it. Because maybe it's something very personal, but it's not having a lot of interest in our communities, societies, countries, etc. So we need to give a sense of interest to this research, okay? Can the results that I am going to obtain can be generalized? They can impact other things like music education and dancing, how people should be educated about, uploading videos and dancing. And it will have an impact on education. It will have an impact on our society and diversity studies. It will have an impact about how media portray leaders, and what is about transparency, what is about, so we have to analyze that. What cost and time are involved in the analysis? That is important too. Do I have to pay a platform to analyze what I need to analyze? Because what I have now is huge. I can't do it on my own. Can I afford that? The cost and the time? Is the planet approach so far appropriate to this specific project? Okay, I am considering making 5, 6 in-depth interviews. But at the end, only 4 journalists, even if I told them it's confidential, they are not going to recognize your name. They're like, yes, but you're talking about Al Jazeera, and maybe they will recognize my quotes. So instead of 6, there are only 3 giving you an answer. So that's enough for a research? No, you need some more people. So maybe you need to reinforce your approach and methodology, because the people that they were willing to give you an interview, they have changed their minds. And that can happen as well, okay? For a focus group, for a survey, people can change their minds. So we need to be ready to change our strategy and our plans. Is there any potential harm to the study participants? Okay, so that is something that we need to take into consideration. If someone is traumatized, or someone is telling a story that is connected to a situation that is, no, I'm not feeling safe, or we need to discuss about that, okay? So we need to take in consideration that possibility. Okay. 1 second. Excuse me.
Malak, I was going to say it's interesting to hear your topic about Al Jazeera, because I started, especially last year, I started to turn to Al Jazeera because I felt the US media was just spinning, it just wasn't giving me the information I needed. So it's interesting now to hear from your perspective how Al Jazeera is basically turning into something that they weren't before, just as, I guess, I don't know, to make that region accept this new person as the leader. It was very interesting to hear. Then it begs the question to me, like, who do I trust? Who do I listen to now?
I know. Listen, it's I know what you mean. Like last year, we all turned for Al Jazeera, especially when what happened in Palestine.
Right.
So we all needed the news, the real news. But also they showed this news because they are supported by the Qatari government. Al Jazeera is for the Qatar, so and Qatar is supporting who Hamas. So that's why they shed the light on what's going on in Palestine. They were
Right.
pro what's going on. So it's all about every media
Yeah.
outlet. It's the same. They shed the light on what they see that it's their agenda and it's their whether political agenda or religious agenda. It's all the same. But it's not all lies. Okay, especially what was going on last year. It was viral, and we saw it on social media. Even that's what's making it now. Like every one of us is a journalist now. It's easy by showing the truth on social media. So yeah, but we can't fully trust media, especially these media that they are backed up with government money. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
So based on that, it's interesting because in that point, science is systematic and cumulative. So we need to look and search for previous works based on our topic. If someone have done something previously, in what way it was this research done, by interviews, it was qualitative, it was a big survey, and I need to know in order to prepare a different research. Otherwise, it will be something in the same direction. And what I need to create with my research, it's something new, something in the way the topic should be presented and treated, and also the results should prove that this is exceptional. Nobody have done that before. It doesn't mean that they didn't choose this topic, but not under the perspectives that I am including on my research, okay? So science is systematic. Yes, I need to create a systematic research in order to check how many studies they have been done on this topic, where their results, their impacts, in order to think about the type of results that I can obtain and the different type of impacts that I can create with this research, okay? So it should be something new, innovate as well, okay? So cumulative and systematic is a part of my research preparation. They're amazing words, but when I'm talking about systematic and cumulative, is meaning a lot of time of reading and selection of materials. Any questions so far about that?
Again, it's just a very interesting comment because it's really helping me structure my paper because initially my paper was really drawn towards the trauma of 1990s to 2000s, the music during that time. So the trauma, how it still exists. So that's kind of the way I was shaping it was more on a psychological, like this is still affecting individuals from that time period. But, it opened my eyes now to when we think about today, and I think about TikTok, for example, and I think about how dance hall music as a whole has become globalized and how fast it has been, because now there's dance classes. You can go to any dance studio and you're doing dance hall classes. And sometimes this same music, these same lyrics are introduced into these classes without some of the teachers even knowing, because some of these teachers are not even from the Caribbean. They're not from Jamaica. They're not from Barbados. So they don't understand the patois. Again, they only understand the rhythm, but they're not even understanding what the lyrics are saying. And then this goes on to TikTok. So you see people from Japan, people from um, everywhere, all over the world, doing these TikToks to these songs and dancing to the rhythm, and it's cool beats, but they're not listening to the lyrics. So there's this subconscious of it continuing to go on. And I think for those like myself who know that those words, know that history, it's a bit triggering. So there's psychological, it's the psychology, I mean, the trauma of it still exists, but it's existing with people who have no idea what is being said.
Yes, I think that is. I was thinking when you were explaining that about vicarious trauma. Are you familiar with that?
The
Vicarious
what?
trauma.
The carries trauma, no.
Vicarious trauma is very interesting because we are using that in media psychology studies because um, sometimes it's not the fact that you are in the middle of a terrorist attack. Because of that, you do not develop trauma just because you are in the middle of the situation or because you are covering war. You can develop what is vicarious trauma or secondary trauma by watching images, by listening some songs that it will take you back to a traumatic memory
Mhm.
and you reproduce the trauma. The trauma is awake again.
Mhm.
Okay, so it can be trauma can be vicarious, secondary trauma based on someone telling an experience or a song that is oh I know that song and I know the meaning and you develop all those memories, they come back. Okay, um, so that is interesting. It's
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
interesting line.
I can just give you an anecdote of that. My sister recently got married in September,
Uh-huh.
and one of the songs played, and everyone, this group of people, they all know the song. They all know where it's from, and they just started like singing the song loud and loud. And I just started to like retreat because like no one's realizing like this song should not be played at all. You know, the DJ just decided to play the song and everyone's just having fun. Again, the rhythm and they have the memory of the song and how it was when they were a teenager, but they never actually took the lyrics and understood that there's a person, the brother of the wife, who is homosexual, is basically saying that that person should die, you know? And that is the mantra, that's the name of the song, basically, you know? So absolutely.
So secondary trauma, but also the fact that the others, they're not aware. And I think it's interesting because you have different scenarios here. It can be a party or it can be online. It can be in many different ways. You can be exposed to it into your real life in a party, but you can also be exposed while you're preparing yourself a coffee in your kitchen and you're watching TikTok. You know what I mean? So exposition is also an interesting point about that. Your exposition to these songs and your reactions. So a focus group can definitely help you, you know, in order to give sense in what way people react or if they develop frustration, hate, I don't know, what type of feelings they develop when they hear that. It's not just the song, probably, is how people react to the song. The song is there, but it's how people react. They dance, they enjoy, they do not criticize. I think it's there, right? So mixed methods are, I really like mixed methods. I feel very comfortable when I use that. Um, because when we are talking about mixed methods, we know the qualitative and the quantitative methods, but mixed methods is like the combination of both. And so you can start with a focus group. Based on your focus group results and analyze will help you to create the questions for a survey. And then the survey can help you, the survey results, quantitative results, will help you to create specific in-depth interviews. So I am mixing methods here, qualitative and quantitative. So if I am doing that, of course, I need time to produce all that, because I can have time and I can't control my time to write my research problem, proposal, methodology, etc. But on the other hand, if I am planning to make a survey or a focus group, but people, they do not confirm, so I need to plan this very, very well. If I know my studied population, I know that I can arrive to them very easily, it's okay. But when we are talking about mixed methods, we need to make sure that we can advance on that very clearly, okay? During this month, I know that I will finish the survey. I need the result of this survey, analyze it in 2 weeks, because the in-depth interviews will be based on these results. So it's like a chain. So I need to be very well organized with that. So when we are talking about mixed methods, most of the time what we do is like, in order to analyze the different results, we use the triangulation. So I combine the qualitative results with, and I compare that with the quantitative results in order to see if I have a different results by combining them or no. They go in totally different directions, okay? So mixed methods is in order that I want to reinforce my study, okay? I want to have some numbers, quantitative. The quantitative part will provide me numbers in order to confirm one of my objectives, okay, one of my questions. Collecting, reviewing, and analyzing secondary data. Secondary data is very important when we are talking about a specific situation. When I'm talking about Syria, in what type of period? Syria, people that they live in the main city, or people that they live outside, people that they escape. So I need to inform and give more characteristics to my study and population, or to the country, why I am deciding to conduct my research in 3 different countries, France, Germany, and Spain. Well, they have in common that they are making part of the European Union, that they agree most of the time about human rights, about immigration. So because of that, this is that. So I give a sense, but for that, to give that sense to the nature of my study, I need to provide secondary data. Okay, it's not the main data, but it's like, okay, why I'm choosing this specific media from Syria, where it's located in Syria, and the characteristics of the place. There is another media that is competing with that media specifically, or is the big star. So I need to give a sense in order to provide more information to the other researchers about this topic, okay? So as you can see, the information that is considered secondary data can be demographic based on the population, if this is in the main city, or I am focusing on gender, ethnic groups, migration. It's based on discrimination, so I am talking about gender and age as well. That is playing an important part on this study, so I have to explain more about it. Why do we have more women living in the city than men? Well, because of war. Okay, I need to explain that. Okay, So economic environment, okay, the salaries of the journalists in the last 3 years went down, and precarity is very precarious in Syria, being a journalist. So because of that, the journalists that they're staying there under this situation with very low salaries, many studies, they're showing that they're adapting themselves, they're having 3 jobs at the same time. So I need to explain more about my study population, and that is the uses of secondary data. Is that clear?
Yeah, but I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm taking like the quantitative method, so let's say even if it's a survey, or I will take a focus group, but there's a problem. Like, how do I know? Like in Syria, now people supporting, or like we said that the media influence on impact on the audience. How do I know how they impacted the audience? Especially that, like in Syria, the religious groups, if they are like Sunnis, they or Alawites, it depends. So, and what focus group I will take? Like I'm Lebanese. I live in Lebanon. So
Okay.
here we are on the borders with Syria.
Yes.
So here we don't, like, even if I watch Jazeera the whole day,
Yes.
I won't accept like this the president of Syria, because years ago he and his groups, they killed us here on the borders, and they made a lot of chaos in Lebanon. So
Yes.
we consider him, he's a terrorist, even if Jazeera changed. But in Syria, even in Lebanon, like some of the people, they changed up their minds. But this really depends on. I'm sorry to say this, but that's the reality. The religious, religion, يعني. So if I want to test the audience, how they impacted the audience, what audience shall I take?
Okay.
Like the
So I think
Syrian, or what audience? I don't know.
maybe the audience, your impact, when media, they can influence, and the influence can be an influence that we cannot measure very easily. But the impact, yes, the impact is having a reaction. Okay, so maybe in order to study the impact, you should read and check the how the readers, they react to the news connected to this leader. Okay, they react in a positive way, they share emoticons, like emotions, like like a happy face or an angry face. It depends. So that is an impact. People are reacting. So, and they're the readers, and the reader that is reacting online is exposing himself or herself, because it's showing the type of impact it's having, positive or negative. So maybe that could be helpful for you, if how people, they react online in the news media, by writing, by telling to the journalist that is not true, or thank you very much, I loved your story. So that is impact, that is reactions.
Okay, good.
Okay. And for doing that, you have to select specific dates, otherwise it will be a lot. So specific dates when he wasn't there and he was considered a terrorist, and now specific
I
dates.
got it.
But that can be helpful.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you should go to social media and how people share about it. But I think that is more complicated.
That would be too much
Yeah.
broad.
Yes. You should go to the media. And because the people that they decide to express themselves, they want to be read, they want to be heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sources. It's very important that we check our sources and that our sources, they're the latest one. I mean, bringing the results of a poll or a survey from 2012 is too old, okay? We had a pandemic and many things happened. So please try to bring and to look for information that is the latest one, okay? Technical reports are, depending on your study, they're more than welcome. Of course, academic journals, literature review articles, trade journals, and also books, okay? But the most important thing to take in consideration for your research is other papers, okay? So focus in the latest papers that they're connected to researches that they're connected to your main topic, okay? In order to see that, you need to make sure that nobody have done this work before. Local experts can be very helpful, okay? Local experts, they can give you amazing ideas. It can be a school teacher. She's an expert on art and dancing and is working with families and they're bringing to her issues, etc., and reactions. So local experts, they can provide you interesting point of views. So for secondary data sources, you can also have these journals, as I told you before. And check the sources and the type of questions that I am bringing here. You're hearing a trumpet. It's my son that is having his trumpet class. So do you have any question?
No, I think this is all really great and informative. Again, I just felt like finding a direction, because like you said, I started the topic and then just trying to find a direction of where exactly it's going. And I feel like each time I open a new topic, I'm kind of falling deep into like a new paper in some ways.
Yeah.
So that's that aspect. And then the second aspect I'm having is 'cause I haven't read that many research papers in this topic. There are some, and I'm going to do that. But I question or I'm curious to know your information on how personal to make your paper because you say you want to make it general so it doesn't feel that there's like basically I don't want to feel like I'm gushing out all of my feelings and all my trauma into my paper, even though that's what my initial impetus was. That was what my draw was to that and connecting that to dance and how especially seeing all these videos of people dancing to these songs and um, how they don't know that's dangerous in some ways. I'm very curious to know how do you structure a paper so it doesn't seem like you're being very personal about it, you know?
I mean, we are not robots, so it's good to recognize and embrace that is personal in a certain way. That is the main starting point. And then you will give voice to other people, and those voices, they will bring their personal stories. So it's not going to be your personal story, but there will be other stories, other reactions, other traumatic events on other people connected to these songs that they will reinforce the topic. It's not only you decided, and your personal experience is your motor. So keep this motor. It's not bad.
Okay.
And this motor will connect you with other stories, will reinforce your story. And also reading other works is very helpful because you will see, oh, I'm not going in that direction. I feel they're dehumanizing people here. And so that is great. because you know in the way this topic was treated. But then you will see other studies where you will say, hey, that's amazing. I love in the way they made this focus group, and that is a great idea for my focus group, you know? So
Okay.
please read papers connected to this type of topics.
Yeah.
Any other question or reaction?
No, thank you. It was really beneficial. It's like now we are in the core of this paper and the thesis. So yeah, much needed.
Okay. Thank you. If you have any doubt about what I was presenting today, do not hesitate to send me an email. I know methodology can be challenging, but if we are connected and we trust in our topic, if we ask ourselves the questions that they're weird questions but needed, it's a great step to start asking ourselves the good question. And if the answer, we know ourselves when we are trying to avoid things. So we need to be very honest with ourselves, like, hey, my answer is too long. I'm not sure here. So go ahead, ask you yourself one more time, but do not force situations. A no is a no. Go and see other people, or maybe you have to change some aspects of your research. It's fine. You can adapt yourself to it. That is my latest recommendation. And many thanks for your attention.
Yeah, that is what I was going to say. Thank you, Jamal, and thank you, Malak, for both being today with us and for making this session that interactive. Because sometimes when we are only four people, it can be a little bit difficult. But thank you both, and thank you also, Carolina, for today and for your time. And we see you in a couple weeks, if I'm not mistaken. No, in 3 weeks. But yes, if you had any questions, please let us know. And I'm going to ask you, Carolina, if you could share this. Well, I will write to you tomorrow, so you can maybe share
Of course.
your presentation with us. So thank you again for your time, guys, and we see you in a few weeks.
Okay, all the best with your works. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you
work
very
hard.
much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.